Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello friends, welcome to this NPTEL course on ESD, Education for Sustainable Development. In the last class, we have discussed about how sustainability and ESD and education for sustainability can bring quality, can enhance the quality of life, can bring peace in our lifestyle. So, how through ESD global peace in the community can be achieved, and how sustainability, global peace, citizenship behavior and global citizenship and how quality of life are interrelated. So, to continue this only, so again we will be discussing on some of the critical issues related to this SDG, that is SDG 4. So, SDG all the SDGs reaffirm that the need to improve education is to ensure that the people are afforded the high standard of education. So, education, high quality education, awareness, information, is dissemination of information, all these are crucial factors, or you can say crucial factors to enhance the awareness about ESD. Hence, ESD or education plays a vital role, very critical role in supporting this implementation of SDGs. That is why ESD has been accepted, has been approved, has been advocated as the tool to achieve all these 17 SDGs. So, what are the critical roles that ESD is playing, or education as such is playing? For example, for education is addressed as a standalone goal in SDG 4, especially as a primary driver to human development. So, when we talk about SDG 4, that is quality education, equal accessibility, equal quality of education, equal access to of quality education for every learner, even in the remote area, then global citizenship, then all kinds of, then under SDG 4 also there are other targets like technical vocational education, global citizenship, and all kinds of the parameters, all kind of the concepts which are related to very much to enhancing our quality of life, quality and developing a habit of sustainable consumption, sustainable production, all kinds of things. Hence, as such SDG 4 elaborately clearly address this kind of quality of life and human development, and it is considered as the primary driver. So, and in addition to this, education is also understood as a highly effective means of implementation across all the goals, because whether it is SDG 1 poverty, SDG 2 or zero hunger, whatever is the decent works, and then infrastructure, then smart cities, then climate change, that means the clean water, then the life on land, whatever may be the SDG, it is definitely related to human life, and as such it is related to education and quality of education. So, education is such a tool to implement all these SDGs by serving as a vehicle to raise awareness. Okay, it is a tool to raise the awareness, increase the knowledge of the stakeholders, and again they develop the capacity of all the stakeholders around the world to play an active role in the work of 2030 agenda. So, unless and until the people are aware of, unless and until we create or generate an awareness among our public, among our community people. So, how can they be, how can they be very much conscious about their habits, their lifestyles, their consumptions, their behavioral aspects, etc. So, it is like, means we have to put it, we have to induce it, we have to inculcate in the consciousness of the public, in the consciousness of our citizens, so that they think about it, they think about it, reflect upon it, and practice it on a day to day basis, so that it becomes their habit. So, developing the that means developing the habit is habit is a second nature. So, developing the habit, it needs lot of effort, lot of conscious effort, rather conscious effort, reflective thinking, and then exposure, also media exposure and dissemination of information, then attending the workshops, intervention, all kinds of then media exposure, all the, because when repeatedly we send this message, or we try to that communicate to our stakeholders, then automatically they start thinking actively about this, reflect on their own behavior, and automatically consciously they make effort to adopt this. So, education is such a tool to raise all kinds of awareness, increasing the knowledge, being reflective on evaluating their own behavior, their practices, their lifestyle, etc., so that the world, that means they play as a major actors, major stakeholder, that means active citizen to achieve this 2030 agenda. So, improvements in the quality of education can also catalyze the transformative learning needed to realize a sustainable future. So, here that means, as we have already discussed, that this ESD, bringing this ESD sustainability is a paradigm shift. So, in order to achieve SDGs, we need the paradigm shift in our mindset, in our attitude, in our thought process, in our cognition. That is why, and when this that means, unless and until any transformative learning, any paradigm shift takes place, it is very difficult to achieve this thing. So, it requires the transformative learning. Transformative learning, that is, it requires complete transformation, 360-degree transformation from its present status to the future status, which will be sustainable. So, improvement in quality education, so it plays a very catalytic role in transforming the whole learning system, our education system, which requires the strategies, which requires the effective approach to realize this sustainable future for all. So, here from the pedagogical aspect, now it requires transformative learning, that is to change not only the mindset, not only the thought process, not only the that means put through in the consciousness and conscience of our citizens, but also to manifest in the behavior. That means, once we have to inject it into the mindset, into the thought process of our consciousness of our citizens, so that they start thinking, actively thinking upon it, reflect upon it, and then they realize it, and by realizing, or by taking it seriously and consciously, then that means in the affective domain, in their emotional domain. So, then they will start realizing this, and then they will behave accordingly. So, this requires a complete transformation or transformative learning here. Hence, for ESD and for achieving all the SDGs, so that means we have to change our pedagogy into a transformative learning mode, to bring that 360 transformation change into the mindset, into the thought process, into the emotion and the action of the people. Of course, it requires a lot of time, a long time. So, it cannot happen just only within a decade or 5 years or 7 years, but it may require a generation, but simultaneously, consciously, if we can make effort, then yes, definitely we can achieve this. So, therefore, the 17 SDGs serve as a comprehensive, far-reaching and people-centered set of universal and transformative goals and the targets. Okay. So, that is why, so this SDGs, all the SDGs which have been explained, elaborated by UNESCO, it is it's a concept note comprising a comprehensive and far-reaching people-centered set of universal and transformative goals. So, all the 70 SDGs, it includes universal, that means which is applicable to all the citizens across the world. Transformative goals, definitely we want to bring the transformation, complete transformation in our planet, in our people, among our people, and in our economic system, education system. So, it's required, all the SDGs, 17 SDGs consist of the universal and transformative goals, okay, and with the target of achieving this by 2030. Okay. So, here quality education for sustainable development has the potential to support this transformative learning and bring out the fundamental change. So, recently in 2020 we have this national policy, national education policy, which has been revised after a long time, and it brings that kind of transformation, tries to bring that kind of transformation in our schools education system, both primary school education as well as the higher education, and how through that means to transform the whole syllabus, then convert it to the pattern, the content, the training, the workshops, then all kinds of important points, vital points as per the requirement of the present centuries, that means as per the requirement of skills and competencies for the global jobs and all kinds of the advancement, development process, scientific innovation, etc. So, that is that and that assures that emphasizes on quality education. So, quality education, it includes not only revisiting our own education system, but also improving the ecosystem, educational ecosystem, then content, curricula, teacher training, then infrastructure, then digital, again the digital platform also, and all overall, that means the overall development of all the aspects of key domains like the stakeholders like students, teachers, other stakeholders, then the ecosystem, that is the school environment, institutional environment, etc. Then the curriculum, then the teacher training, all kinds of, similarly the resources also, financial resources, so that will be used for all kinds of activities, both online and offline. And during this COVID-19 and pandemic situation, we have also been we have been very efficient, become very efficient in the digital platform also to run our education online. And but the thing is that yes, from time to time we have to be reflective in identifying the gap areas, or maybe that some side effects or some kind of shortcomings that we are facing nowadays, how to improvise things, how to recover all these kinds of shortcomings and revise our things, so that it can be very risk proof and very much effective. So, in order to achieve this, the countries must first consider how to develop the plans and actions. For that, in order to implement this quality education and even our national education policy 2020, we have to design the blueprint of action plans. We have to develop the action plans which will be feasible, which will be effective, which will be cost effective, etc., to harness the education as a powerful means of implementation, and ultimately reform the education policy towards an advancement of sustainable education. So, for that matter, I am just proposing that all of you can go through some of the very effective education system across the world, like Finland, it's in the ranking in the global ranking in the education, quality of education is the number 1 or 2. So, Finland is very good. Then you can say even in Finland and Sweden, and so Scandinavian countries, and even so we have to evaluate what are the education pattern systems in different countries, maybe in Asian countries, that is the Japan and Singapore. What is their system of education, what is their pattern of education, what is their activities, how they have framed the curriculum and syllabus, where that means where this kind of awareness, sustainable development awareness, how they have incorporated it in activity, in curriculum, in content and in practice, etc. So, how they have incorporated these things, we have to evaluate and you have to reflect upon. Earlier in our school system, yes, environmental science, environmental education is a very has been a very important subject, and it's a mandatory subject, but environment education, being conscious of the environment, is not just enough. It also requires the people's development, it also requires the resource conservation, it also requires the financial growth. So, how these three driver sustainability pyramid domain or approach can be adopted, can be developed, can be built in the system of education. Because if we analyze the education system, again it has the three main drivers. One is that people, that is all the stakeholders, teachers, student and the guardians, parents, everything. People, all the people who are involved either directly or indirectly, that is the people. Then planet is that ecosystem, is the educational ecosystem, the ecosystem of education in our country, school education, higher education, professional education, technical education, all kinds of the ecosystem. And what what should be the quality of system, quality of content, everything takes into account, including our teachers training, workshop, education, etc. Similarly, the another is the financial growth resource, financial growth resource, or that means the policy, even at the policy, education policy, at the governance policy, all kinds of administration, all kinds of things. So if there is a proper coherence between this policy, education policy and governance, and the people, that is the teachers, students, or the stakeholders, as well as the ecosystem environment in terms of infrastructure, in terms of digital tools, ICT tools for education, learning, training, workshop, etc., etc., then we can develop a holistic model of sustainable education. So our efforts would be how we can build a education system which is more sustainable in its approach, in its strategy. So there will be holistic development. That whole school approach, that whole institution approach can only give us this path and strategies to achieve all the 70s SDGs. So that is why education plays a very important role. So how ESD will be blended, can be blended within the system, within the education system. So if we will do isolatedly that ESD in this course, that course, unless until our system is very holistic and harmonious and compatible to adopt it, so there will not be any integration and coordination or proper monitoring and evaluation. So we have to develop our system as a holistic system, whole school approach, whole institution approach, where all these three main drivers will be taken care of, and there will be proper integration, coordination, and all the inter-driver conflicts, like in between governance, policy, and the people. So then people and the planet, that is ecosystem, or ecosystem and the governance, all these inter-driver conflicts, dilemmas would be how would be sorted out, would be solved, would be resolved. So then that at the end, that can help us in achieving these goals of sustainable education, the goals of sustainable education. And that is the, when these three drivers will overlap with each other, and the consensus, the common core things, then that can ensure us quality education, and there only ESD can be successful, very much effective. So that is why we have to simultaneously we have to develop our education system, which has to be very sustainable. So how to build up a sustainable education system for our country, and how, and yes, definitely ESD will be there. ESD is just like the nervous system, but in the whole that means the body system is that education system should also be sustainable in terms of its infrastructure, in terms of its content, curriculum, awareness, information, all kinds of things. So the next thing is that ESD can thus help us addressing the facts, as the countries they achieve higher levels of education, they not only experience economic growth, but also rapid increase in the resources and energy uses. So once education is that means education, that means people in the countries are educated. So ESD can address the countries in achieving this high level of goals, like like the challenges that we face, starting from the climate change, global warming, to the economic slowdown, to the job creation, to the skill and competency development, to the outsourcing of knowledge, then the renewable energy sources, all kinds of the resources, all kinds of new avenues, new innovations also can be possible. So education, so ESD helps us to harmonize the tension between economic, social, environmental development and integrate them into a single concept and a pursuit. Just now, as we have discussed about if our system is sustainable, when we try to build up a sustainable education system, definitely we are going to resolve these dilemmas, these conflicts, inter-driver, like economic and social and environmental, all these dilemmas, tensions, conflicts can be resolved with the strategic approach. With the, what should be like, when these two drivers, suppose economic and social, there is a governance, policy, and the people, the manpower, suppose HR resources, is when there will be conflict, then how to, if we have to identify in a matrix format that what are the clashes, what are the conflicts, what are the dilemmas in the matrix form, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this, then we have to, then addressing these things, then we have to resolve the issues like what would be the possible solution for this. Then these solutions will be our educational goals, these solutions will be our targets under this thing. So, all the inter-driver tensions tensions and conflicts are to be resolved, so that we can harmonize all the tensions to make a progress, an equitable progress or equal progress in all the three domains in order to make our system more sustainable. So, therefore, even nowadays also this UNESCO Director General also has addressed and advocated for some of the strategies. So, now this is the first time like in the online mode, now this recently this online mode. So, UNESCO officials, Director General, they are conducting the various kinds of workshops and the conferences and the webinars, etc., and emphasizing that quality education is about what and how people learn. It is not about the know what, but it is also about knowing know hows, how we are learning, why we are learning, and where to apply our knowledge. So, not only to learn about what of education or what people learn, but about how the people learn. So, its relevance in today's world and the global challenges and its influence on people's choices. So, many now agree that quality education for sustainable development reinforces people's sense of responsibility as the global citizens and better prepares them for the world they will inherit. So, thus quality education, that means it is multi-dimensional in the sense that it not only empowers the people in the acquisition of knowledge with regard to specific jobs, profession, etc., but they can better understand themselves that how they are learning, how relevant it will be in their career, then what would be its scope, what are their own skills and competencies, how relevant it is in the present day context. So, why they are learning and how much value it adds to their life, their skill, how they learn the new skills and competencies, and what is the competition in the market. So, from time to time they have to do this SWOT analysis, that is to reflect upon their own performance, competencies, etc., and map their competency in terms of identifying their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities available, and threats and opportunities and threats are there in the environments. So, how these threats can be converted into our strengths. So, that is also, that means it is not about know what, but it is know how, know why, and where to apply it. So, UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay also charts the new strategic direction for achieving this quality education in a specific way, that is, so education, like for example, education communicates the value of natural and indigenous heritage. Here again UNESCO has also emphasized on protecting, conserving our heritage, as because we are staying in a multicultural, that means diverse context, diverse in terms of geographical, in terms of language, in terms of ethnic origin, in terms of climate, everything. So, we have to how we can protect our natural heritage, and how indigenous heritage can also helps a lot in achieving this SDGs. So, because natural heritage should be protected, because it also and from the natural heritage or indigenous heritage, how can we utilize these resources for achieving these SDGs. So, UNESCO's 2030 survey related to this kind of thing says that climate change and biodiversity loss as the top global challenge that lead to the 2030 agenda. So, climate change and biodiversity loss, that has been including our water, including our forest greenery, or including our resources, including our space, everything. So, according to Denise Alves, addressing the joint issues of climate change and biodiversity loss is intrinsically linked to protection of indigenous culture and knowledge. So, here comes protection of our indigenous culture, indigenous resources, indigenous knowledge. So, here comes our traditional knowledge, like for example, in the context of India, our traditional knowledge, heritage, and indigenous knowledge like the Ayurveda, then all kinds of therapeutic practices like yoga, or indigenous knowledge about herbs, the medicines, Ayurveda, all kinds of, and cultural practices of herbal medicine, all kinds of. So, these kind of things, this traditional knowledge and indigenous culture should be protected, and it should be enhanced with and cooperation with the indigenous people. Like we have not only the knowledge but also the art, like in terms of different kinds of art, folk arts, music, then the handicrafts, all kinds of things. So these kind of cultural knowledge, cultural resources has to be protected. So translation of these values into effective public policy and the holistic education programming is the key to repairing the human relationship with nature. So now, like for example, this government, our government has also created a platform like in Indian knowledge system. In Indian knowledge system, these kind of things, efforts are being made to protect our traditional knowledge, to recover it from its lost practices. That means the consciousness, how to protect, how to identify, how to preserve all our traditional knowledge, our cultural artifacts, our skills, our things, all these things. So then in Indian knowledge system, actually this scheme, this venture actually protects or tries to protect our cultural heritage and the skills and the knowledge, traditional knowledge, learning. That means since our ancestors have started all kinds of things in the traditional, in our history, starting from the Vedic Yuga and to our ancestor. That means to protect all kinds of this traditional knowledge, and how this traditional knowledge can be used for our betterment in the present day, and how it's not only to revive all these things, but also to make use of it in our lifestyle, in our day-to-day activities, so that not only people are becoming more aware of it, but not only are preserving our heritage, but also making people aware of its benefits, its effectiveness, and how to practice it. So conservation, therefore conservation of the environment implicitly linked to the protection of these rights, indigenous rights. So depending on the location, depending on the tribal culture, we have the different types of culture, tribal culture, rural culture, or the northeast culture. So conservation of an environment automatically takes into account the protection of these kind of indigenous rights. So therefore it is considered as very vital to protect our culture, because the cultures, like the guardians of the forest and all the knowledge that is in our forestry, in the green and our forests, and that. So there are so much of knowledge, medicine, all these things are there, which actually helped us in the physical treatment, in the education, in the even energy creation, even in developing the medicines, indigenous medicine, all kinds of things. So the forest management and conservation and all those biodiverse plants and animals, when these will be protected, preserved and conserved, so automatically it will help us in indigenous protection of the indigenous knowledge and heritage. Okay. So we now therefore we must encourage the implementation of the public policies for the preservation of environment and indigenous people. So therefore our government must make effort that in order to make it, in order to protect these, in order to preserve these, in order to that means revise it for the public use. So we have to make some public policy. So government should implement some of the public policies for implementation or protection of these kind of indigenous resources among the people. So that is now UNESCO has also declared, there are across the globe, it has declared some heritage sites, UNESCO heritage sites, heritage locations, heritage monuments, heritage places, so across the world. So similarly, India, we have the traditional things from the archaeological survey of India. So many very old and very relevant our cultural artifacts, monuments are also being declared as the heritage sites. So that is an effort to protect the culture and indigenous culture, local culture, heritage, and preserve it and then make use of it for the future generation, for sustainable future. So therefore education for indigenous people, guided by the new UNESCO policy on engaging with the indigenous people, that is UNESCO is committed to promote the lifelong learning for indigenous people and ensure that that it should be full, there should be full inclusion in education. So, we must, like for example, in our Indian education system, our cultural heritage, our knowledge, our practices, our traditional knowledge should be incorporated in our system, so that all of us, not only the present generation, but the future generation should also be aware of it and make use of it and practice it for the sustainable future. So, this is the, you can say, this is the website link, UNESCO link also is also there. You can find out the details there also. Now, for the time being, now we close it right now, stop it right now. In the next class, we will continue with this discussions. Thank you very much.